Hey all, welcome to ShareTreck. This is Raj here. I have some opinions around what happened at the end of the Jackson Hole Symposium. I just want to get things off my chest, forget that whole thing, and breathe a sigh of relief and move forward. So guys, let's get started. Well guys, welcome back. Today I want to talk to you about my thoughts around Fed Powell's speech after the Jackson Hole Symposium. I think that he was being unnecessarily aggressive. It was uncalled for, in my opinion. And here are the reasons why. We have already seen the inflation reports showing that inflation has already peaked and it's on the way down. That's point number one. Point number two, unknown to most people, like we don't see this on a regular basis when we do our analysis, but the fact remains that mortgage-backed security purchase, renewals, and bond purchases have been curtailed at significant levels every successive month since June. And as a result of which, a lot of liquidity is being mopped up. That's also going to impact the already falling inflation. So that's another factor that we have to keep in mind. And on top of it, the markets were already primed to expect at least a 50 basis point hikes at the minimum. And everything was hunky-dory, and all that Fed Powell had to do was make a neutral statement and get going and make it a non-event, and everything would have been fine. But he went ahead and made the really hawkish statement. I don't know whom he was addressing it to. And this has the potential of strengthening the dollar index and pushing it above where it was before it fell down again, which is almost at its peak. I think that will be detrimental for the market because funds will move out of various markets and get into the dollar index. That's not going to be good. And also it's going to be really bad for all the companies that are generating revenue internationally, companies like Apple, Microsoft, and all, which have international sales, because stronger dollar is going to mean that their exports are going to suffer, and they are going to be able to get less dollars in for the sales that they are doing outside. So all that said, further, this morning I came across another speech by Elizabeth Warren, which really made me upset enough to make this particular video. So please check out this particular snippet from the speech by Elizabeth Warren, and I'll speak to you on the other side.
Mr. President, I rise today to express concern about a culture of corruption among top officials at the Federal Reserve. Officials at the Federal Reserve are entrusted to make decisions that affect the global economy and touch the lives of every person in our country. These officials have access to private information, often gathered at the expense and even by legislative mandate. There is no room for self-dealing by federal officials. There is no room for even the appearance of self-dealing. Every member of the Federal Reserve should know that without a reminder from Congress. But evidently, there is a problem at the Fed. We don't know the scope of the problem or how long it has been going on, but a very disturbing picture is emerging. Last month, it was discovered that during the economic turmoil of 2020, as the Fed was called on to take extraordinary measures to support our economy, Robert Kaplan, president of the Federal Reserve Bank of Dallas, made multiple million-dollar-plus stock trades. It was also disclosed that in the same period, Eric Rosengren, president of the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston, made multiple purchases and sales relating to his stakes in real estate investment trusts and other securities. A new report last week revealed that a third key Fed official, Vice Chair Richard Clarida, also traded between $1 million and $5 million out of a bond fund into stock funds exactly one day before Fed Chair Powell publicly suggested possible policy actions that would significantly affect bonds and stocks. The Federal Reserve makes hugely consequential decisions involving interest rates, trillions of dollars worth of lending and debt, and the regulation and supervision of the banking and financial systems. 2020 was a particularly consequential year. with the Fed taking unprecedented steps to backstop financial markets in response to the pandemic. To make these specific decisions, Fed officials needed access to vast quantities of proprietary, non-public data and information about individual firms, the state of the economy, and upcoming Fed actions. Under these circumstances, for Fed officials to actively trade in the market raises legitimate questions about conflicts of interest and insider trading. These Fed officials' actions show, at a minimum, very bad judgment. They also suggest that some Fed officials believe that building up their own personal wealth is more important than strengthening the American people's confidence in the Fed. In his years as chair of the Fed, it is not clear why Mr. Powell did not take steps to prevent these activities. Surely he understands that this kind of behavior by Fed officials corrodes the public trust in the Fed, and that in turn, such corrosion undermines the effectiveness of the Fed.
Well, friends, as you saw in the clip, Elizabeth Warren very eloquently pointed out how Fed officials are continuing to invest with insider information, and that should be very worrisome for all of us. And I think that there should be an outright ban on any official holding positions where they are privy to market-moving data, where they are making decisions regarding what should be done with the market. So this includes Fed officials. This also includes senators and House representatives who have access to market-moving information. They all should not be allowed to participate in the market while they are holding those offices, and later on they can always come back in. So that needs to happen immediately, because I'm looking at our situation as a retail investor. We get the worst quality of data ever, because if you look at the ticker, when we look at the ticker numbers that are coming to us, the price ticker from NASDAQ or anywhere, that is the slowest transmission of price data. And by the time we react and our brokerage passes through the information to buy or sell stocks, we are much slower. And within that time, moneyed investors with better platforms are able to not only see on the spot pricing, but also are able to close deals even before our order goes to the exchange and gets into the queue. So that's our disadvantage. And we try to overcome all of this by doing fundamental analysis and as much technical analysis as possible. And many times, whatever we plan out doesn't transpire, and that could potentially be because there are people with information who confidently move contrary to what technicals and fundamentals point, because there is market moving data that is coming out. So I'm really a bit upset about that. Now, I would like to also talk to you about just to highlight what situation we are in and why I'm this much agitated today with Chairman Powell's speech. Apart from what Elizabeth Warren said, if you had to just go back in your memory to just 3 or 4 months or maybe 6 months, we have been talking about this all along. The main reason why we have this inflation is because COVID happened and we had lockdowns, and the lockdowns made the government to give subsidies to companies and also financial support to individuals who could not go to office and companies which could not continue with their business. Most hard hit was the hospitality industry. So the government had to pour in money into the economy to support individuals and companies to stay afloat while the COVID problem was being handled. And this also meant that there was a supply chain problem because the ports were congested, because the ports were closed. And then we had COVID problems in China, which is now the zero COVID policy that they have. Also, we should not forget that in between all of this, we had a problem with Russia-Ukraine crisis, driving up prices for wheat and food commodities, as well as European gas supplies. That caused inflation problem in the Europe as well. Now, worldwide, there is inflation problem. And at this point of time, if Chairman Powell was thinking that it's just the interest rate that is going to control everything, I think that's a bit difficult for me to handle. I think the governments should continue to do more work on their part to further ease congestions in the port. They have already done a good job doing that. They have to do a little more. We have some things that are not in control of the US markets, that is the zero COVID policy of China. So that's not in the control of US. So there has to be some efforts done by various companies to come up with other alliances in order to source goods from other places like Vietnam or elsewhere. And the government will have to work very expeditiously to make sure all the regulations and other things can be revamped and put in place quickly to enable companies to switch their supply chains and ease the supply chain problem to a good extent. Then we also have this labor shortage situation. And in my mind, it's not just a labor shortage situation, it's just that companies are not paying enough to employees. And employees, after having seen that they can work from home and still deliver, are finding that it's very, very expensive for them, inordinately expensive for them to take a commute and go to work and eat outside, while they can do all of that at home and still deliver for the companies. Companies still stayed afloat despite the fact that there was a pandemic. Of course, factory workers have to go to work and they have to be on the factory floor. It's not going to happen by itself. But a whole lot of the economy in advanced countries is in the service sector. And in the service sector, you can have a lot of remote work that can be done. And there is technology available. It has been demonstrated during the 2 years of COVID. And that's the reason why employees are acting difficult, and understandably so, because employees are the people who are supporting this entire economy, because for them, tax is deducted at source. They cannot have unaccounted income. All their salary is going directly to the bank, and then they have to file income tax returns to get their refunds. Whereas business people and all, they have various ways of having shell companies and taking dividends and borrowing against the stock options instead of actually taking a salary and paying taxes. So we have to cut a little slack for the average employee. In my opinion, they are working really hard and they need to be paid their fair share. And that's how you can retain the people. And if the government started facilitating industry by loosening up the visa regime and allowing them to get knowledge workers from abroad for lesser salaries, that's not helping the economy or the common man. It's just helping the big companies. So this is my rant for the day. I don't do this very often, but this is what I feel is happening at this point of time. We need to be very, very alert as investors, guys. We have earned our money by paying the maximum taxes possible in the economy. We are the highest taxpayer as retail investors and as employees working 9 to 5, and we are investing in genomics, which is a high-risk sector at this point of time. Only Bluebird and a few other companies have shown FDA approvals, and we are yet to monetize that. So for us, all these kind of shenanigans by people who can control market-moving data is very, very detrimental. So friends, I don't want to depress you further, but this was my rant. I would like to hear from you. What are your opinions? How do you feel? Are you a retiree or are you a 9 to 5 employee? Do you agree to what I have said, or do you think I have got some really bad conspiracy theory in my mind? I'd like to hear from you. Please put your comments below. And that's all from me for today. If you like this video, please don't hesitate to put a like out there. It helps YouTube promote our channel, and we need that very much. We want more people to watch our videos. And also, if you have not yet subscribed, please subscribe and help us grow this channel. Thanks and have a great day. Bye for now.